What is up, everybody? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, bringing you another edition of Set Point. And as always, we have ourselves a jam-packed show as we have quite a bit to get into, such as Washington State upsetting the Ducks of Oregon last weekend. Also, Washington upset Oregon, but Washington State was able to do so first. Finally, they got a first-ranked win of the season. Can the Cougars make some more noise in the Pac-12? How about Wisconsin? Everyone was doubting Wisconsin, saying that they weren't the same team as last year. I still think they're going to do big things. And they did so as they upset Purdue at Purdue. Finally, they broke through at Purdue. Also, how about Houston taking down UCF? Big win there for the Cougars as well. Also have some FIVB talk, and we have some big men's volleyball news to discuss. You know what the deal is. Hand me a volleyball. Set the net. Because I'm about to serve you up some volleyball action here on Set Point. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of Set Point here on IE Sports Radio. Your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Set Point. I hope you all are having a great afternoon, great evening, great wherever you are listening from. Either way, you have made your way into episode 163 of Set Point. Without any further delay, let's get on into that volleyball action. But first and foremost, Set Point would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform. IE Sports Radio can be found on several different streaming platforms such as Twitter, or not streaming platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok via social media platforms. Also, IE Sports Radio is available on Facebook. You just got to type in IE, then Sports, then Radio in the search bar. Also, IE Sports Radio has a website, www.iesportsradio.com, and when you go on there, you'll see a link, a Patreon link at the top, which will start at $5 a month. This will get you a shout-out from all of our shows, including Special Set Point, and higher tiers include IE Sports Radio merchandise, access to IESRU, which is the podcasting university of IE Sports Radio, even a chance to be featured on a segment of our flagship show, The Defining Moment, with Larry B. Because for the past 8 years and counting, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicating to all major sports and cities in terms of sports all across the country. All the while, we've been continuing to be by the fans and for the fans. And with your help, we are ready to take the next biggest step. Thank you, everyone, for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports. Big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters, Bay Area Raised Apparel, Marcus Lowscrate, Heat of the Gate, and a donor that wishes to remain anonymous. Alright, let's get on into some volleyball action. So we'll start off with some men's volleyball, as we had some breaking news this past weekend when it came to the men's volleyball scene. So, Kevin Ring, you remember that UC San Diego got, unfortunately, parted ways with Kevin Ring. They just recently hired their new men's volleyball coach, Brad Rostratter, who, at the time, was the head coach at Vanguard in Costa Mesa. Vanguard University is a men's volleyball school, it's an NAIA school located in Costa Mesa, California. So Brad Rostratter leaves his position at Vanguard and will now be the head coach of UC San Diego, which I think is huge. I think Brad Rostratter as the head coach of the Tritons is a great fit for him. I think he'll do great things, and he definitely has the makings of being a head coach anywhere, whether it's NAIA Division I, Division II, Division III, anywhere. He's a great men's volleyball coach. He's also a great guest, as he was a former guest on Set Point. But more importantly, Brad Rostratter is a fantastic fit. He's going to fit well into UC San Diego's system. He has been a part of the Vanguard men's volleyball program since it first started back in 2020. And ever since 2020, Vanguard started its program, and it's basically thrived courtesy of Ross Stratter. But unfortunately for Vanguard, Ross Stratter leaves, as he'll be going to UC San Diego to have that coaching gig. It's understandable, honestly. It's especially with the pay rate being so much better. Not that I'm trying to get into that little rabbit hole. So unfortunately for Ross Stratter, not unfortunately for Ross Stratter. Ross Stratter is parted ways with Vanguard, but he's leaving on good terms. At the time, he helped Vanguard reach the Final Four of the NAIA championships, and at the time, Vanguard was once the number one team in the NAIA rankings. And he's also a two-time NAIA Coach of the Year, and I think that's quite amazing. The fact that he's done such an amazing job with Vanguard shows that he'll be surely missed, but he'll do great wonders with UC San Diego. And then as for Vanguard, you're probably wondering, well, who's going to be the head coach? That's easy. They've already named their new head coach, Eric Valley, who was the assistant coach at the time. So Eric Valley is a former assistant for UCLA men's volleyball, and he was a former player for UCLA, but now he's taking over the Vanguard men's volleyball program. So he's been actually around the Vanguard men's and women's program for a while. I think this is his first year coaching, being an assistant coach for the women, but he's been with the men for quite a bit. The problem was we haven't really seen him too much on the men's side, just because he actually was the head coach for Newport Harbor boys volleyball, and he stepped down from that position after the spring, or after the boys volleyball season, to pursue other coaching job opportunities and to spend more time with his family. So Valley, I think, is a perfect fit just because he is coming off of a season where he coached Newport Harbor to the CIF Southern Section Division I Championship, as well as the SoCal Regional Championship, and they were named national champions via Max Prep. So I really think Eric Valley is a great fit, and I don't mean to boost Valley's resume, but he did take Newport Harbor to back-to-back finals appearances in the CIF Southern Section Division I finals. So I really think that Vanguard is in good hands with Eric Valley. So that's pretty much all the news. I also need to tell you this, that Eric Valley is the son of former basketball player John Valley. So there's that little fun fact right there. But overall, I think that's it for the Vanguard men's volleyball news, as well as NCAA men's volleyball news. I imagine the Vanguard coaching staff is going to get boosted up just because currently it's only him on the coaching staff. So I imagine Valley will try to find more coaches to help him in terms of the team, because obviously a head coach can't do everything. He needs to have a staff with recruiters, with stat keepers, and you get the deal. So that's that for some men's volleyball news right there. So jumping on over to some FIVB World Championship action. So last week I discussed Phase 2, or I previewed Phase 2 and recapped Phase 1, Phase 1. This week I'm going to recap Phase 2 and go over the quarterfinals, just because this week that's basically the final week. This is the final week of gameplay, which should be good times, just because we're getting into the real deal of things. So jumping on over to October 4th matches, we had Japan beating Belgium in 4 sets. 21-25, 25-20, 25-16, and 25-22. Then we had Canada beating Thailand in 4, 25-19, 25-21, 23-25, and 25-22. Then we had Brazil outlasting Italy. This was a very good match, as Brazil outlasted them 25-20, 22-25, 22-25, 25-21, and 17-15. Whew! That was a barn burner. Then we had the United States defeating the Dominican Republic 21-25, 25-19, 25-20, and 25-14. Then we had Turkey defeating Germany 25-21, 25-18, and 25-21 via sweep. Then we had Netherlands defeating Argentina in 4 sets 22-25, 25-18, 25-12, and 25-13. And lastly, we had Serbia sweeping Poland 26-24, 25-22, and 25-18. Wednesday, we had Italy beating Japan in 4, 20-25, 25-20, 25-14, and 25-15. Then we had Germany defeating Thailand in 4, 25-19, 25-22, 18-25, and 25-23. Then we had China sweeping Puerto Rico 25-15, 25-19, and 25-21. Turkey swept Canada 25-22, 26-24, and 28-26. Serbia swept Dominican Republic 26-24, 25-20, 25-17. Belgium swept Argentina 25-16, 25-23, and 25-23. And lastly, this was kind of the stunner right here. Poland swept the United States 25-23, 25-20, and 25-18. Now you gotta remember that Poland is I think they're the host country for the FIVB. But it was so weird seeing... Excuse me a second. Sorry. It was so weird seeing the United States lose in that type of fashion. I want to read like one of the quotes that Coach Karai said midway through the match, and I was very surprised. I just could not believe that the United States just could not get it done against Poland. Like, it's just very surprising, because the only team that I know that gives them trouble is Serbia, maybe Brazil and China, but other than that, it just was very, very, what's the word? Head scratching. And I can't seem to find it. I'm sorry, y'all. I guess they got rid of the tweet where it had the quote, which makes me sad. Ugh. I actually really want to read the quote that Coach Karai had to say, which it doesn't even have a quote via the press release. Thanks, U.S. Anyway, but that's just a very surprising loss right there for the United States losing to Poland. But I guess having such a big crowd really does make the difference. Anyway, back to the recap of matches. So on Thursday, we had Brazil sweeping Puerto Rico 25-11, 25-13, and 25-15. Then we had China defeating the Netherlands in 5 sets, 22-25, 25-21, 25-15, 18-25, and 25-12. Friday, we had Japan sweeping Puerto Rico 25-16, 25-19, 25-21. Then we had Serbia sweeping Thailand 25-23, 25-17, and 25-15. We had Italy sweeping Argentina 25-19, 25-18, 25-17. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I don't know if you could tell, but my voice has been rather scratchy, and I definitely apologize if I don't sound the greatest. I mean, I've kind of been battling a little allergies, but I totally apologize if I'm not 100%. Anyway, back to the matches. The United States got back on track and defeated Turkey in 4, 25-22, 21-25, 25-20, and 25-22. Dominican Republic beat Germany in 4, 19-25, 25-18, 25-22, 25-18. Then we had Brazil sweeping Netherlands 25-19, 25-19, and 25-20. Then we had Poland outlasting Canada in 5 sets 25-18, 19-25, 16-25, 25-23, and 15-5. Saturday, we had Italy sweeping China 26-24, 25-16, 25-20. Then we had the United States reverse sweeping Thailand 23-25, 21-25, 25-19, 27-25, and 15-13. Then Brazil defeated Belgium in 4, 26-28, 25-17, 25-11, and 25-16. We had Serbia sweeping Turkey 25-20, 25-21, and 25-23. Canada defeating the Dominican Republic in 5 sets, 18-25, 25-23, 25-17, 27-25, and 15-7. Lastly, we had Poland defeating Germany in 5, 26-24, 20-25, 25-18, 26-28, and 15-10. Then lastly, on Sunday's matches, where we only had 3 matches, we had China sweeping Belgium 25-18, 25-18, and 27-25. Then we had Japan sweeping Netherlands 25-23, 25-23, 25-21. Then we had Puerto Rico defeating Argentina in 4, 20-25, 25-15, 25-20, and 25-23. So after all that is said and done, we have the final pool play results. Or in this case, the pool play standings. So in Pool E, finishing first in Pool E was Italy. Technically, they tied with Brazil for first, but Italy had more points than Brazil, as Italy had 25 points to Brazil's 23. Then Japan and China tied for third, but Japan finished outright third as Japan and China both finished 7-2, but Japan had more points as they had 21 points to China's 20. Belgium finished 5th, while Netherlands finished 6th, Puerto Rico finished 7th, and Argentina finished 8th. Jumping to Pool F, we had Serbia leading the way as they went a perfect 9-0. They only lost 2 sets altogether, by the way. The United States finished 7-2, and then Turkey and Poland tied for third, but believe it or not, this was actually very close. Turkey actually wound up finishing third, as they lost 1 fewer set than Poland did. So that's quite incredible if you ask me. So good job to Turkey. And Poland finished 4th, which I think they would have won. They would have been in the knockout round regardless. But either way, that is pretty much your top 4 right there. Canada finished 5th. Dominican Republic finished 6th. Thailand finished 7th. And Germany finished 8th. So this week begins the elimination round, or the quarterfinals, or the final 8, or whatever you want to call it. I just call it the elimination round. So, believe it or not, the brackets actually... This is such a weird process on how the quarterfinals do it. So, the top team in Pool E actually plays the bottom team in Pool E, and then the second place team from Pool E plays the third place team in Pool E. And same goes for Pool F, as the first quarterfinal will consist of Italy versus China. Then the second quarterfinal consists of Brazil versus Japan. Third quarterfinal, Serbia versus host team Poland, or host country Poland. And then the fourth and final quarterfinal will be United States versus Turkey. So the U.S. versus Turkey matchup is going to be such a great matchup. Funny thing is that these two actually took on one another in an exhibition, which I couldn't attend. Thanks, United States, for not returning my email. But I think the United States is going to be quite intriguing when it comes to the Turkey matchup. Obviously, the U.S. got the best in Turkey this past week, but I think this matchup is going to be a lot more tougher than the United States thinks. I think it's going to be quite the challenge for the U.S. to try to take down Turkey's talented athletes. And then for Serbia, despite Serbia being such a good team, look at how far Serbia's gone. They beat the United States in the last tournament, the last FIVB tournament, and then they were able to... They've basically had the United States' number for quite a bit. So, I don't know. I think this could be Serbia's time to shine. But then you also have Italy and Brazil, which are both really tough customers. The thing about Brazil is that they will not have Julia Bergman, as she unfortunately is playing for Georgia Tech. But I think this is going to be... I think Brazil still poses a threat. I just think Italy's going to be just as good. Don't count out the United States. Serbia is also good. And host team Poland. The host team Poland, that is going to be... They're probably the dark horse to win it all. And they're the host country of the FIVB. So I really think that Poland definitely has a shot. I think anyone can make it to the quarterfinals. I'm not even going to make predictions. Nope. I'm not going to make predictions. I already know how bad I am when it comes to predictions, and I'm probably going to pick the United States to win, when the harsh reality is that they'll probably lose in the semifinals. But I don't hope that, but I just think that Serbia has kind of had their numbers the past couple times, and then who knows what could happen with Poland. Like, Poland being the host country, I think they have a very good advantage. And like I said, you can't count Brazil. Japan is scrappy. China is also scrappy. Italy is talented all across the board. And even Brazil, despite not having Julia Bergman, I think they pose a major threat to the whole quarterfinals. We'll see what happens, but overall, I think it's going to be a great quarterfinal, and I think it's up for grabs. I don't think any one team is going to be the heavy favorite, but time will tell. The quarterfinals get started on Tuesday, which as of this recording, this is a Monday. I imagine the semifinals will be 2 days after, and then the final and third place match will be on the 15th, which will be a Friday, and then the semifinals is a Wednesday. But as of this recording, I'm sorry, hold on. The quarterfinals will be on Tuesday, the semifinals will be on Thursday, and then the finals and third place match will be on Saturday. I apparently can't count, I'm sorry. But overall, that's pretty much it for the FIVB World Championships. I really think it's going to be... It's, like I said, it's up for grabs. I think the U.S. has a lot to prove. They were once the number one team, and now they've kind of hit a little bump in the road. As we say hello to Davidson Crooks in the Spreaker chat room. Thank you for tuning in. If you are listening live on Spreaker, then you can interact in the chat room as well, as long as you just make an account. But thank you for tuning in, Davidson Crooks. Back to the United States, they have a lot to prove. They have so much talent, and they have the coaching staff with Coach Karai. And you gotta remember, the United States won gold in the most recent Olympics. Now it's kind of on them to continue to maintain their reputation and continue to become the team that they are supposed to be, which is the number one team in the nation. And I don't know if they haven't been playing like the number one team in the nation, that's for sure, but there's still plenty of time to now's the time they have to prove themselves as the number one team. If they could at least make it to the semifinals, then they are still for real, the real deal. But for now, I feel they're going to have an uphill climb taking on Turkey, but I guess this is why you play these exhibition matches, just so you want to, prepare yourself whenever you face Turkey in certain events, not just the Olympics, but in some of the other events that are happening right now in terms of the FIVB. So that is pretty much that when it comes to the FIVB World Championships on the women's side. Before we head to a commercial break so I could rest my voice, I do need to give a shout to the United States men's U21 team, as they managed to win gold this past weekend in the Pan Am Cup in Havana, as they went a perfect 5-0 in the entire event. As in terms of all their matches, they defeated Mexico in their first match in 5 sets, which was a barn burner. Then they defeated the Dominican Republic in straight sets. Then they swept Chile. Then they beat Cuba in 5 sets, which they almost lost a 2-0 lead, and they had to squeak out the win in set 5, winning 16-14. Then that was actually in the semifinals, by the way, as they got a bye in the semifinals, as basically they went a perfect 3-0 in pool play, and then they advanced to the semifinals. And then the gold medal match, the U.S. swept Mexico in a rematch of the first pool play match, which I was a little surprised, and that's darn right impressive. The third set was very intense, as they won it 30 to 28, so I gotta give my hats off to them. The victory also meant that the U.S. has swept all 4 gold medals in the 2022 age group in terms of the Pan Am Cup on the men's and women's U21 side and the boys and girls U19 side. So, great job to the United States. In terms of individual awards, Andrew Rowan was named the best setter, best server, and MVP. So Andrew Rowan was named the best setter, best server, and MVP. Wesley Smith was named the best blocker, and Zach Rama was named the best attacker. So congratulations to Coach Andy Reid. I actually bumped into him at Long Beach State. I didn't interview him, but he said this as a quote: "For us to qualify for Worlds, as the U.S. also qualified for the World Championship, to win the gold medal, to represent our country was an unbelievable experience for our guys, and I am so proud of them. Throughout the tournament, we played better and better." Great stuff from Andy Reid, the wise Andy Reid, who is the assistant coach for Long Beach State. I definitely think he did a great job, and the U.S. really strutted their stuff. I wasn't too surprised that they were able to come out on top, but overall, it's just a great experience for those boys, and for them to win the whole thing is just amazing. So congrats to the United States U21 team on that amazing accomplishment, and that's pretty much that for the U.S. men's Pan Am team. But there is more gold. See, the U.S. won more gold when it came to the weekend this past weekend, as we also had some beach volleyball players win gold in terms of the United States. As I pull that up as soon as I can, but overall we had the women's and men's pairs win gold in terms of beach volleyball, which that's amazing, dude. Like, the fact that we had a lot of gold winners. So we'll start off with the men's side of things. So Tim Brewster and Kyle Friend won their second straight NORCECA Beach Tour title, as they won gold as they won gold in Nicaragua, which was quite nice. And then on the women's side, Katie Lindstrom and Tegan Van Gunst won gold as they went a perfect 5-0 in Managua. I think that's how it's pronounced. And it was their first gold medal as a team. I should also make note that Paul Lotman and Rafe Paulus finished fourth for the U.S. As we all know, Paul Lotman, he was the runner-up along with Miles Partain in the Phoenix Championships. So I wouldn't say he was fully tired, but I think for him to have that quick little turnaround, he had like a week off to, rest his body, but I think that, for me, him coming back and getting fourth in this tournament is actually pretty good, if you ask me. But as for Tim Brewster and Kyle Friend, I really thought they played great, and I admit I wasn't really fully paying attention to this, but the fact that they won gold is quite astounding, and they really represent the country well. And they both pairs went undefeated, so definitely keep an eye on Tim Brewster and Kyle Friend. They're definitely names that we see in the AVP, but the problem is that they don't go deep, as they're not big-time household names like the Crabs, Taylor Crabb and Trevor Crabb, Phil Dalhouser, Miles Partain and Paul Lotman, and then Taylor Sander. The list goes on and on, but soon they're going to be big names. You just wait and see. And then as for Katie Lindstrom and Tegan Van Gunst, so Van Gunst is someone I've seen a couple times, or the name I've heard of a couple times on the AVP scene. But she, like I said, she isn't as big time as Taryn Cloth and Kristen Nuss and Sarah Hughes, Kelly Kalinsky. The list goes on and on. Same with Katie Lindstrom, but I hope these two do continue to get more recognition in terms of beach volleyball. I think it would be awesome, but right now they're probably basking in the glory of winning gold, as this is the second straight event that we've seen the United States win gold on the men's and women's side. So it just goes to show that the United States, I'm not trying to boast about the United States, I'm not trying to put anyone down, but the United States does have some darn good athletes in terms of beach volleyball, and in terms of indoor volleyball as well. So that is going to do it for some international volleyball talk. So we'll take ourselves a quick little break, give my voice a little bit of time to rest up. When we come back, we will have the NCAA NCAA women's volleyball Week 7 recap and the Week 8 preview, as well as my little stat stuffers. So keep it right here. You're listening to Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Harrison Glazer, and we're coming at you from the Show That Never Sleeps podcast. I cover the Jets, the Islanders, the Nets, and the Yankees.
This is Pierre Moss, and I cover the Mets, Knicks, Rangers, and the Giants.
Our show is live every Wednesday through Spreaker and a bunch of other ways to get our content. Again, we're the Show That Never Sleeps podcast. We talk about all those New York sports. It's a lot of fun. We get into all of it. Please tune in. Again, that's Wednesdays at 6 p.m.
And we look forward to having you guys right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and sinners. Hello, sports fans around the world. Hello, IE Sports family. This is Cale Henderson, the host of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. If you folks are interested in sports in the Vegas area, if you're wanting to have a blast for 1 hour, every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is a show built for the Vegas sports fans, where we feature the Las Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the University of Las Vegas, Nevada Rebels. Hopefully, fingers crossed, MLB team coming soon. Either way, if you folks are looking to have a blast for 1 hour each and every week, tune in Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you folks are interested in Vegas sports news, go to our Twitter at SinCities_IESR, and you can speak with me, the host, Cale Henderson, at Cale_Henderson on Twitter at any time. Be happy to reply. Always want to reach out to our fans. Again, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to segment number 2 of Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows to watch for, such as Chi-Town Weekly, which I had the week off because Adam had to take care of some other business. That's all good. We have The Show That Never Sleeps with Harrison Glazer and Pierre Moss. We have Sin City Sports with Cale Henderson. And we have Let's Whine About DMV Sports with Mike Pat. Alright, let's try to get through this as best as I can as segment number 2 is underway, as we have some NCAA women's volleyball to discuss. So we didn't have too many upsets. We had about 3 upsets, and the second one, or the one of the upsets, can be classified as a possible meh upset. Honestly, I really think that we didn't have too many upsets. We had just, like I said, 3 upsets. So we'll start in chronological order here, as we'll start off on Friday, as we had UCF taking on Houston. So this was actually played in Houston at the Fertitta Center in Houston, Texas. So UCF was one of the more dominating teams, as nothing was really getting in their way. I think they were like one of few undefeated teams, with Auburn having lost to LSU. And then, obviously, Texas is still undefeated. But now UCF is no longer undefeated, as Houston gave them problems. So the first set, Houston led most of the way, but they kind of nearly escaped the first set against UCF 25-23. UCF finally got its act together, winning set 2, 25-22, 12 ties and 6 lead changes. And Larry B pops in the chat room. He says Texas is a powerhouse. Well, yes, indeed. But we're talking Houston here. But back to the UCF-Houston matchup. Houston was able to take the third set 26-24. And believe it or not, I was very surprised by this. I'm like, wait, Houston? I know Houston is good. They only have 2 losses. One of which was to Texas. And then I think the other was to, Rice. But those are some quality teams right there. It's not like they're losing to bad teams. But I digress. And then set number 4, Houston, they didn't really trail a whole lot. They had control of the 4th set, though UCF was trying to push it to a 5th set. But Houston was able to close the door, win set number 4, 25-22, winning the match. So at the time, UCF was ranked. I want to say they're like 23. But Houston, they've kind of shaken up the, what is it, the AAC? The AAC. So for the match, Houston was led by Isabel Hewitt, who had 22 kills, while Abby Jackson chipped in 15 kills. Kennedy Warren added 9 kills. As a team, Houston only hit 187, but a little more on that later. Houston outdug UCF. Yes, and it is the AAC. So thank you, Larry, for confirming that. I had a feeling. I just wasn't fully. I wasn't like fully 100%, but I always get the AAC and the Conference USA mixed up. But it's all good. Anyway, Houston outdug UCF 63-59, but they got out. Well, they barely outblocked UCF 12-10. As they actually had 5 solo stuffs, so quite nice. They did get outserved in terms of the service department, as they had half of the service aces UCF had, as they only had 4 compared to UCF's 8, and then they had 11 service errors compared to UCF's 4. So statistically, for the most part, UCF dominated them, while Houston kind of didn't. But here was where this was the straw that broke the camel's back. UCF only hit a whopping 102, and they even hit negative 0.5 in that fourth set, which I thought was quite disgusting. The best set for either team came in set 1, as Houston hit 355 compared to UCF's 226. UCF was led by McKenna Melville, their all-time kill leader, who had 17 kills. However, she had 14 hitting errors, and she only hit 45 in terms of the hitting percentage, which is not good. You're not going to win games with your best hitter having 14 errors and having taken 66 swings. Abby Hansen added 9 kills, and that was pretty much it. Claudia Dillon also added 7 kills. Gotta throw that in there as well. In terms of digs for both teams, Kate Georgiadis added 28 digs, while Kennedy Warren added 12 digs. Amber Olsen added 18 digs for UCF, while Caitlin Grimes added 11 digs. So obviously this is bad. I wouldn't call it bad, but it's like a little head scratching. But this just goes to show that Houston is such a good team. I think they're underrated, and they're probably one of the more underrated teams in terms of non-Power 5 conferences. I really think that the Cougars might get in to the NCAA tournament. Their problem is it's not a Power 5 conference, and you never know with some of the other teams that are basically knocking on that door. In the SEC, the Pac-12 has some pretty decent teams. The Big Ten has some fairly decent teams. And the West Coast Conference, which is not even a Power 5, they've got BYU, San Diego, and Pepperdine all lumped in there, and only one of those gets the automatic qualifier. The other two have to basically get in as the at-large. Larry B asks, how deep will they go if they get in? That's a very good question. So Houston, it depends on which side of the bracket, who they're paired in terms of the regionals. In terms of the top 8, last week's top 8, if the season ended, consisted of Texas, Nebraska, Louisville, San Diego, Purdue, Ohio State, and then I want to say it was like Minnesota and like Penn State or something along those lines. I can't see Houston going farther than round 2. Unless they have like a deep NCAA tournament run like Kansas did last year when they made it all the way to the Sweet 16 after they toppled Oregon and Creighton. I just don't see Houston going that deep. I think they can get into the tournament, and maybe win a first-round matchup, but again, it all depends on which side of the region they're getting into. I imagine they'll be on Texas's warpath just because of the same region, both teams being from Texas and both teams being on the same path. And perhaps they can be a Loyola of Chicago. They could be the Kansas that they were last year that Kansas was last year, as they basically remember Kansas was. I don't think they had one true breakout win until they swept Oregon, then they swept Creighton, and then Pitt kind of derailed all their hopes and dreams in the round of 16. But they could be a little of Chicago. I think any team can be a little of Chicago. It all depends. Because you don't have to be the best team in the NCAA tournament. You just have to be the hottest team in terms of like wins and losses. And in terms of like attrition as well. So that's that for Houston and UCF. Thank you to Larry B for the questions. Jumping over to Saturday. So I need to get something off my chest here. Why is everyone still doubting Wisconsin? So I left a comment on a volleyball show's page. Someone said, who is your top four, or who is your projected Final Four? I think we could all agree that the projected Final Four is going to be Texas, Louisville, and Nebraska. Now, everyone's Final Four team can be different. Some said Minnesota, some said Purdue. I decided to go a little away. I still decided to stay in the Pac-10 or the Big Ten, and I decided to say Wisconsin. So then someone decided to comment on that and say Wisconsin is not the same team. That's just they didn't. Let's just say they disagreed with me saying Wisconsin. Little did everyone know Wisconsin pulled off the win over Purdue. So they played at West Lafayette in Indiana in Holloway Gym, and Wisconsin was actually 7 at the time, while Purdue was 5, and Wisconsin has had a nasty history of playing in West Lafayette. But they were able to take down Purdue in 4 sets. The first set was a set to forget, as Purdue just stomped all over them, 25-16. And I'm going to also say, I'll save it for a little later. Second set, Wisconsin finally got together. They struggled a little bit in the second set, but they eventually pulled themselves together, won at 25-19. Third set was very tight in the beginning, but then Wisconsin was able to just pull away from Purdue and win it by a convincing fashion, 25-18. I think the third set kind of doesn't do Purdue justice, just because it was tight for the most part in the beginning of the third set, but then in the second set, Wisconsin kicked it into high gear. The fourth set was the closest of them all, as there were 16 ties and 8 lead changes, but in the end, Wisconsin was able to narrowly escape Purdue, winning 30-28. How did Wisconsin pull off the win? Well, before I get into that, I just got to tell everyone, some people were calling Wisconsin underdogs. Are we all forgetting that Wisconsin won the Big Ten and they won the national championship? Underdogs, my foot. Wisconsin is not a bad team. They're not underdogs. And honestly, you can't count out Wisconsin. And when it comes to like Big Ten upsets, I don't think this could be classified as an upset even. I really think that this could be classified as two good teams going at one another, and this could be classified as a breakout win for the Badgers. I really think that Wisconsin really needed this win. That's because everyone was kind of giving them heck, and it was kind of showing in the coaches poll. Something Wisconsin did in order to pull out the win was they held Purdue to only a hitting percentage of 129. They held Purdue to only one kill leader who had double digits in terms of the kill department. And also they held Purdue to only 41 kills. So Purdue had to like score points in other ways, whether it was like blocking or getting service aces, or you get the point. Wisconsin was led by Julia Orzel, who had 19 kills, while Sarah Franklin, the Michigan State transfer, added 15 kills. Devin Robinson and Anna Smrek chipped in 10 kills each. Smrek was huge just because she missed the Penn State game last week, and everyone was thinking, oh, no Anna Smrek, they're not going to win. Well, she's back, y'all, so might want to check those hot takes a little. Anyway, so Wisconsin hit 204. They outdug Purdue 67-62. They outblocked Purdue 13.5-9, and they out-aced them 7-4, though the service errors were horrible, as they had 16 compared to Purdue's 4. Yeesh. But that just goes to show that Wisconsin was probably serving tough. Purdue was led by Eva Hudson, who had 13 kills. Those 13 kills, that's quite impressive that Wisconsin only held them to 13. Eva Hudson has just been on a tear for the Boilermakers this season. She might be the Big Ten Freshman of the Year, and she's put up big monster numbers. She's putting up, in terms of some of y'all, Madden numbers or prime LeBron numbers. Hudson has just been incredible. She also had a double-double. She had 13 kills, 10 digs. The next kill leader for Purdue was Madeline Koch, who had 8 kills. Then after that, we had 2 players have 6 kills each. Purdue ran a 6-2 offense as Megan Renner had 11 assists to go along with 3 kills. And then Grace Balencipher added 20 assists to go along with her 5 digs. In terms of the dig department, Maddie Schermerhorn added 12 digs, while Emily Brown, Allie Hornung each had 10 digs to go along with Hudson's 10 digs. So for me, this was a statement win for Purdue. And honestly, for people that are calling them underdogs, for people that are counting them out, for people that are basically saying they're not the same team, continue to do so, because Wisconsin is going to prove you wrong. Yes, I understand they have the loss to Minnesota, but who has Minnesota lost to? Northwestern and Purdue? I mean, Northwestern is obviously doing great. Don't get me wrong. Northwestern is not a bad loss. But losing in 5 on your home gym is kind of meh. And then Purdue obviously has exceeded everyone's expectations. I really think Purdue has exceeded my expectations tenfold, because everyone, I'll even own up to this. I thought Purdue was going to take a big step back with the graduation of Caitlin Newton and a few of the other players from last year's Purdue team. However, they've had lots of key contributors such as Raven Colvin, Eva Hudson, Hannah Clayton has been doing good things, and Madeline Koch. I think this Purdue team is doing quite nice. And they have the coaches. They have Dave Shondell, John Shondell. I really think, well, mainly Dave is the head coach, but Dave Shondell has done amazing for the Boilermakers year in and year out. I really think that this Boilermaker team is something special. I think, now do I see them going deep in the NCAA tournament? I don't trust them enough to go deep. I could see them going to the Elite 8, but I don't see them competing. I don't think they keep up with Texas or Louisville, which they lost to already, and Nebraska, who they have to play in Big Ten country. I think Purdue is a very good team, but at best, they're a dark horse to win the NCAA tournament. This is not a dig on the Boilermakers. I think they have a great team. I think their team is going to be super good in the near future. However, I just think Purdue, at best, is a Elite 8 team. Maybe Sweet 16 if I'm being generous, but Elite 8 is probably as deep as they'll go. So that is that for Wisconsin versus Purdue. So before I get to this next little upset, I'll just get it over with right now. Washington State was my team of the week for Week 7, and I did not expect people to make such a impressive deal. Like the coaches, the head coach, and the associate head coach retweeted it. Like, this tweet blew up. Even the Washington State Twitter account gave me a little quote tweet saying "Go Cougs" with a little flexing emoji. But Washington State is my team of the week for Week 7. They beat Oregon. Now, here's the thing about Washington State. They're a very good team. They have not lost to a team unranked. All of their losses have been to teams that are ranked or that were ranked. This Washington State team was long yearning for an upset over a very good team. They faced Oregon on Friday, and boy howdy, they did not waste this opportunity, as the first set they lost to, it was a close set, but then Oregon was able to kind of snatch it from them in the latter part of set 1 as they won it 25-22. Washington State had to grind it out in set number 2. They eventually won it 28-26. The third set was kind of ugly for the Cougars as Oregon won it 25-13. Fourth set, a whole lot better as Washington State never trailed, never tied with Oregon as they won the fourth set 25-18. And then the fifth set, they only trailed once, and that was all she wrote, as Washington State eventually won the fifth set 15-9 as they pulled out their first big breakout win of the season. Quite amazing, if you ask me. Despite only hitting 170, they were amazing. They saved their best for last in terms of set 5, as they, despite only having 6 kills, they hit 417 compared to Oregon's 167. As for the Cougars, they were led by Pia Timmer, who had 21 kills. I had a feeling, I'm just going to also say this, I had a feeling Washington State was going to pull out the win, just because Washington State is so underrated. They just don't get enough credit just because of not having a whole lot of big-time wins. As like I said, Pia Timmer led the way with 21 kills. She was one of the players to watch for. Magda Jelarova, I was butchering her name. She had 10 digs. I apologize to Magda. I butchered her name last episode, but there's her name, Magda Jelarova. My apologies. Laura Jansen added 11 kills. She also added 17 digs. Carly Basham added 16 digs. And then Julia Norval added 9 digs. Both teams had 59 digs, and Oregon outblocked Washington by 2. In terms of the serve battle, that's kind of where Washington State won, as they had 6 aces to Oregon's 4. They missed fewer serves, as they missed 8 compared to Oregon's 15. So overall, Washington State didn't have the best stats, but all that mattered was they got the win. And that's kind of what truly matters in the Pac-12, just because they needed that win just to convince the committee, hey, we're a good team. We have not lost to a team that's not ranked. And we also have this win over Oregon. They also played Stanford really tough. They lost to Washington, which obviously was tough. They lost to BYU. Obviously that was tough. And I'm blanking on another loss. Oh, they lost to Minnesota and Pepperdine. I forgot. Though they took Pepperdine to the distance in 5. And then, obviously, Minnesota they were on a warpath for revenge after losing to Pepperdine. As we welcome Mike Pat in the chat room, he says, Teran, good evening, sir. Thank you for tuning in. So, Washington State really impressed me. I was quite impressed by them. I really think that they are underrated. They didn't have the stats, but all that mattered was that they got the win. And Mike's asking, did FSU win everything yet? No, they have not won everything yet. It's been a little up and down for the Noles, but more on that later. Back to Washington State. I think Washington State is kind of underrated. They're extremely underrated. They don't get a whole lot of love just because they don't have the strong standout wins they had. And also, they did go 5 with USC, but I think that's kind of a moral win. That's an impressive win. Not a moral win. USC has the moral win against Wazoo. Washington State beating USC at USC is big time just because they have to fly from Pullman all the way to sunny Southern California. So, for Washington State, I think they have potential, and and something else to note is that they've won 6 out of the last 7 meetings with the Ducks, dating back to 2020. So I think for this Washington State team, they're putting everyone on notice. And I don't think this is a team that anyone wants to run into come Pac-12 play or the NCAA tournament. I really think they have potential. They run a 5-1 offense, obviously, but I think that they work hard every night, and they have some good hitters like Timmer and Jelarova. As for Oregon, they were led by Brooke Nunneveller and Mimi Collier, who each had 20 kills. Collier has been outstanding as a freshman for Oregon, and Brooke Nunneveller needs no introduction. Gloria Mutiri added 9 kills as well. In terms of digs, Nunneveller and Elise Ferreira each had 14 digs, while Georgia Murphy added 13 digs. Collier also chipped in 10 digs as well, which I thought was impressive. So, for me, it was obviously going to happen that Oregon was going to lose to a Pac-12 team The problem is that this loss is starting to sting a little more for the Ducks as 2 days after they lost to Washington in 5 sets, which I don't think that's a bad loss, but I kind of had a feeling Washington was going to come out swinging. It was only a matter of time before Oregon cooled off, and it's quite the bummer for Oregon, but they're still very much in the thick of the Pac-12 race. Currently leading the Pac-12 is Stanford, Washington, and USC. USC has a tough week I wouldn't call it a tough week. They just have a tough matchup next up as they are playing Oregon at the Galen Center, which more on that a little later. But for Oregon, they're not out of the Pac-12 race, but it just means that their margin of error just dramatically slimmed down. Though with the entire Pac-12 beating up on one another, it's obviously going to be anyone's division or anyone's conference. Heck, we may see quite a number of Pac-12 teams get either barely make the tournament or be the first 4 out. Mike Pat says, does college volleyball have a tournament-style postseason? Unfortunately, no, they do not have a tournament-style postseason, but thank you. That's pretty funny. Tournament-style postseason. What, is it like who has the best jerseys? But no, they don't have a tournament-style postseason. So that is that for Washington State defeating Oregon. I would like to give some props to Washington, but here's the thing for Washington. They almost got reverse sweep. They almost got reverse swept against Oregon. The reason why I'm giving more props to Washington State is because A, they were unranked, B, they weren't receiving votes, and C, this win was huge just because they needed a ranked win. Obviously, Washington is a good team, but Washington State had a lot more to prove just because they had not won any ranked wins. So, for me, I think Washington State definitely proved themselves quite a bit. As I'm looking at the chat room, I see what Mike's trying to ask. He says a tournament-style postseason. So, yeah, it is like November Madness. I didn't understand Mike's question at first, but I understand. He's talking about like a certain theme, like November Madness. And yes, they do have a bracket like basketball. It's a 64-team bracket. And I hope they never have to resort to 48 teams, because if they have to resort to shortening the bracket again, I'm going to lose my mind. But back to Washington State. To conclude, Washington State, they're very much in the Pac-12 race, as every Pac-12 team has a loss, including Stanford. Yeah, you can't believe it. And this race in the Pac-12 is going to come. There might even be a team with 3 losses as the Pac-12 champion. So I really think the Pac-12, as Mike says, he needs some madness. I think the Pac-12 is where you need the madness, just because I think between the Pac-12, ACC, Big 12, SEC, and the Big 10, I think the Pac-12 is kind of the weakest conference, just because there is... Well, actually, no. I shouldn't say that. The SEC has no undefeated conference, but that conference has a lot of parity. It's like, now for the SEC, there weren't a whole lot of teams ranked, but now there are some teams getting votes and getting ranked, and then for the Pac-12, they had teams that were ranked to start out and now are no longer ranked. So that's why I have the Pac-12 at the bottom of my Power 5 conferences in terms of women's volleyball. So that is pretty much that for all of the recap upsets in terms of Week 7. We got to get into our stat stuffer. So in terms of our stat stuffers, we had Polina Shemenova of Syracuse. Shemenova became the all-time kill leader at Syracuse as she has 1,701 kills, which passed the previous record, Dana Fiume, who had 1,698. The best part is that Syracuse has 12 more matches, so Shemenova is able to build off of those kills and get even more kills to boost her all-time kill leader record. But that's amazing that she was able to become the all-time leader at Syracuse. Syracuse, I'm not going to dance around this too much. Syracuse is having an up and down season, but the fact that they were able to turn a bad loss to Louisville, which we all know Louisville is really good, into a positive moment where Sheminova was able to become the all-time kill leader is quite something. And I'm happy for Sheminova, and I hope she continues to do it big after conference. Because, believe it or not, the Louisville and also Notre Dame were actually their first 2 conference losses. Syracuse actually went into conference play 4-0 until Notre Dame and Louisville kind of derailed that. So the fact that Sheminova was able to still get that little accolade still is a good weekend for Syracuse despite an 0-2 week. And who knows, maybe if Syracuse does get into the NCAA tournament, I think she can get even more kills. But we're going to cross that bridge until we get there. And until we get to see Syracuse knocking off some of the better teams like the Georgia Techs, the Florida States, the Miamis, the Pitts, and maybe NC State, I'm not really sold on Syracuse. All right, so that is going to do it for NCAA Women's Volleyball Week 7. Let's get on into the coaches' poll for this week, as the coaches' poll this week consisted of 25 through 21. So actually there is no 25, as Michigan and UCF are tied for 24. I should also make note that no team dropped out of the top 25 despite the upsets that happened. Anyway, 23 is Western Kentucky, 22 is Rice, 21 is Creighton, 20 through 16 consists of Pepperdine at 20, Kentucky at 19, Baylor at 18, Oregon at 17, and Marquette at 16. 15 through 11 consists of Washington at 15, Penn State at 14, Florida at 13, BYU at 12, and Georgia Tech at 11. 10 through 6 consists of Minnesota at 10, Purdue at 9, Pitt at 8, Stanford at 7, and Ohio State at 6. 5 through 1 consists of Wisconsin at 5, San Diego at 4, Nebraska at 3, Louisville at 2, and your still number 1 team of the AVCA Division I coaches poll is Texas. So for me, this is no surprise. There was a little bit of movement. Wisconsin's back in the top 5. Pitt knocked Georgia Tech out of the top 10. Kentucky, I'm surprised Kentucky is 19, but looking at some of their losses, well, no, I wouldn't say some of their losses. They lost to LSU, but Florida also lost to South Carolina. My only question is, when will Kentucky prove to Florida that they are better than them? But that just goes to show the madness of the SEC, which I think is cool. And then, despite UCF losing to Houston, they're still in the top 25, which I think is cool. I mean, I'm glad we're getting some non-Power 5 conference teams in the top 25. A team that I think you all should watch out for is USC. USC, like I said, they are they're tied atop the Pac-12 standings with Stanford and Washington. They have a big-time matchup this week against Oregon. If they win that one, maybe they sneak into that top 25. Maybe they overtake UCF or Michigan. But USC is coming so close to knocking on that door. Same with Washington State. Though Washington State doesn't play anyone ranked. They play Utah and Colorado. Though that's kind of a tough little pair of matchups to go against when they're playing at the Rocky Mountain schools. But for USC, this is kind of their week to put to put everyone on notice that they are back. And then I guess I'll stay on topic in terms of the Pac-12. UCLA finally got its first wins, but UCLA has a long way to go as they still have a little ways to go. They're still trying to figure out their team. I think they're getting better as finally Charity Looper is back starting for them, but it's just all about rediscovering their identity following the graduation of McMay. So that's going to do it for the AVCA Top 25 Coaches Poll in Division 1. Now we got to get into week number 8. Well, actually, before we get into week number 8, I got to recap a high school girls volleyball tournament that I went to on Saturday. And this was actually a 2-day event, and this was the Redondo Power Classic. And in the end, Miracosta was able to win the whole thing. Miracosta of Manhattan Beach. as they defeated Redondo Union of Redondo Beach. Fun fact about Miracosta and Redondo Union, those two were the host schools of the Redondo Power Classic, as I think that's a little coincidental, but both of those teams are very good. Both those teams actually wound up not dropping a set up until the final, where Miracosta kind of waxed Redondo. Though, I wouldn't say they waxed him in the second set. The second set was a lot closer than the first set. In the first set, Miracosta just straight up pounded Redondo Union. But for me, Miracosta, they're looking really good. And one player they have that is going to be a future Wisconsin Badger is Charlie Furbringer. And she was named tournament MVP. Drew Wright, I think she's going to Duke. I'm not entirely sure. She was named to the all-tournament team. Mele Koro-Blagojevic was named to the all-tournament team. She's going to Oklahoma. Charlie Furbringer was the MVP of the tournament, and she just served really well, and she is just a beast. She's a really good setter, and I think she is going to do great things for Wisconsin. Yes, she is going to Wisconsin, and she's only a junior. She committed into the summer. So this is quite astounding if you ask me. I really think that Charlie Furbringer has the biggest future of them all and the brightest future of some of the players in California in terms of the class of 2024. But I really think that this is going to be quite the interesting feat for Miracosta. Can they put it all together come the end of the season, which is actually, this week is actually the final week of the regular season, and it's no doubt that Miracosta is going to be the top dog of the CIF Southern Section tournament, and they're going to be in Division 1, that's for sure. I still think it's wide open on who wins the whole thing in Division 1. I think depending on who passes and who serves the best depends on who's going to win the whole thing. And I'm wondering where Drew Wright is going to be going to college. I really want to know where she's heading to. I want to say it's like an ACC school. I really think that I will look that up, but overall, I only attended she's going to Princeton. Oh, I was way off. So Drew Wright is going to Princeton. So my apologies. Drew Wright is going to Princeton. Anyway, so the whole day 2 of the Redondo Power Classic was a great one, as we had some good teams from all over the place. Torrey Pines, I think, reasserted themselves as one of the top dogs in the San Diego section. I think they're the second best team in the San Diego section behind Cathedral Catholic. Cathedral Catholic is going to win the top division of the San Diego section in girls volleyball. They did have to kind of grind their way out of the quarterfinals against a scrappy Newport Harbor team. I was live tweeting that matchup on my personal account. The problem with Newport Harbor was they were so tired from all the matches they played. They played a lot of matches, not just last week, but the week before, and they were in a tournament as well. So that's a lot of volleyball, and I was a little skeptical of why Torrey Pines narrowly won the third set 15-12. Granted, Newport Harbor is a scrappy team. They don't have the Division I talent like some of these other teams do, but what they do have is scrappiness and resilience, and they have a good coach too. So overall, I think Torrey Pines will be fine. I just think that quarterfinal matchup kind of tired them out for the semifinals, which it really showed that they were so tired going into that quarterfinal matchup. Granted, their matchup ended their matchup was actually sooner or later than Redondo Union's quarterfinal matchup, but I still think that they could have won a little bit more convincingly. But it is what it is. I mean, it's kind of like the NFL or college football. It's just any given day where no team is safe. And like I said, the whole Division I Southern section in terms of California, it's wide open. I really think it's wide open in terms of Division I. So that is going to do it for a little high school girls volleyball talk. I'll probably have more discussion on that next week when the whole brackets come out this Saturday. This is something I do need to keep an eye on, and I know most of y'all are probably not going to care, is, I guess if you're a Californian and you're in Orange County, a matchup to keep an eye on is Newport Harbor, Huntington Beach, which the top 8 teams get into Division 1, and they're all going to be put in 2 pools, Pool A and Pool B, and then it goes from there. Newport Harbor, in terms of the CIF Southern Section, they're currently ranked number 10. If they beat Huntington Beach tomorrow, as of this recording, it's currently Monday when recording this. If they beat Huntington Beach on Tuesday, tomorrow, I might expect to see them in the Division 1 bracket. It all depends, because Huntington Beach has already lost to Newport Harbor, so I imagine another loss could put the Sailors into the top 8, which would be good and bad. It all depends. But if they lose to Huntington Beach and their other matchup against Corona Del Mar, then they'll probably be in Division 2, which isn't bad. I think it would just be more wide open, though I think there are a lot of other teams that can win in the Division 1 bracket. All right, that's going to do it for some high school girls volleyball talk. Now let's get on into the NCAA Women's Volleyball Week 8 preview of matches. So we'll start off with the sneaky good matchups. We'll start off with Friday's matchup. Number 24, Michigan at Michigan State. Rivalry game. Battle of Michigan. I don't know the name of the rivalry. I'm just going to say the Michigan Battle. Either way, Michigan plays at Michigan State. Michigan State is much improved, especially with the addition of Nalani Iosia. However, Michigan does have some top-notch players like May Pertovsky, just to name one. I really think this is going to be a barn burner. I think Michigan State's unranked record does not do it any justice. They've played some tough matches, although they have a lot more wins than they did the previous year. Although they haven't really beaten anyone big time, but this is their chance to prove themselves against their crosstown rival. Also on Friday and on Saturday, we have number 13 Florida at Mississippi State. So this matchup, going to the SEC, this is kind of going to prove if Mississippi State is the real deal or not. I think Mississippi State is for real. However, my big problem is, can they pull off an upset over a la a Kentucky, a Florida, a Arkansas? The list goes on and on. Well, they beat Arkansas already, but you get the point. Can they beat a bigger team than Arkansas? This is going to really test them. But fortunately for them, they are at home, but Florida is very good. Though they did have to outlast LSU. That was kind of a doozy right there. But Florida outlasted LSU and won both times. And then also on Saturday, we have Hawaii at Cal Poly. So neither Hawaii and Cal Poly are ranked. However, both of these teams are pretty much the number 1 and number 2 team in the Big West Conference. I kind of have to give this matchup a little shout just because Hawaii is the only undefeated team in the Big West Conference. Cal Poly is right behind them, but let me just tell you, Cal Poly is a darn good home team. It's tough to win at Cal Poly's gymnasium. And their only loss in Big West Conference play was to Santa Barbara at Santa Barbara. But other than that, I think at their gym, I think they can do some damage. And they're much better than what their non-conference record showed back when conference play started. So I really think that Cal Poly is starting to get it together. I think they're doing much better than they were in the preseason. And now I think this is their time to shine. But they're going to have to do so against a lot of talented players from Hawaii. Jumping to the notable matchups, we'll start with Friday's matchup, where we have number 17 Oregon at USC. This is where USC has to come up big. If USC wins this matchup, I think they're in the top 25 next week. If Oregon wins this matchup, USC is no longer atop the Pac-12. But that doesn't mean USC is out of the Pac-12 Conference Crown Championship race. But now USC's schedule becomes a lot more tougher because they have Oregon this week, but next week it gets so much tougher as they're going to be away from Galen Center, as they'll be playing at the Northern California schools, Cal and Stanford. The Stanford one's going to be oh so tough. The Cal one, it shouldn't really be. Like, this is those two as well as Washington toward the end of the season. Oregon and Stanford are kind of going to be their only few tough matches to watch for in terms of USC. They also are playing Stanford twice, so this is kind of USC's chance to boost their resume in terms of talented wins. They have some good wins. They beat UCLA, though I don't know. Well, no, I think that's a quality win just because it was at home, and they also beat Hawaii as well, but I digress. And then also they beat Utah and Colorado, which both have stellar records, especially in the Pac-12. So I think USC is boosting its resume quite nicely, but they're going to need some ranked wins in order to have the committee say USC is indeed an NCAA tournament team. I really think USC should go to the tournament, but last week they weren't really challenged. Well, not really, but they were somewhat challenged. They had to go 4 with the Arizona schools, but now this is where it gets much more tougher. Also on Friday, we have number 20 Pepperdine at LMU. So this was almost going to be a sneaky good matchup, but I decided to bump it up to notable just because it's a rivalry game. It's the PCH Cup, as it's LMU versus Pepperdine. It's a nice little rivalry game right there. And I think it's going to be a barn burner. I really think that LMU is going to want to bring its best, especially since it's at LMU. And I think that this is going to be something to watch for in terms of Pepperdine. Can Pepperdine avoid a letdown? Oh, no, I wouldn't say a letdown. Can they avoid a trap game against an LMU team that their best win is against UCLA? I think LMU is vastly underrated. I think they're the 4th best team in the West Coast Conference. As I'm actually going to pull up the West Coast Conference volleyball standings, but I think it's going to be for Pepperdine. They cannot overlook LMU. I think this is a very good matchup, just because LMU they're still kind of in the thick of the standings race. They're 4th, but they're kind of a distant 4th. They're 4-2 just because their only losses were to San Diego and BYU. Do I think Loyola Marymount can get into the NCAA tournament? It's a long shot. They'd have to beat Pepperdine and then San Diego and then BYU. Like, San Diego could be a big win if they pull it off. But for LMU, I think it's going to take baby steps in order to make the NCAA tournament. Like, their overall record is 9-6, and against comparing it to Pepperdine, it's kind of going to be tricky to take down that team. But thankfully for them, they get the home court advantage, and it's a rivalry game. All bets are off when it comes to rivalry games. And then on Saturday, in terms of the notable matchups, we have number 1 Texas at number 28 Baylor. Oh boy, this matchup is big. Not just because it's in the Big 12, but you get what I mean. So, for Baylor, this is kind of for second place. I don't see them overtaking Texas unless Texas somehow collapses against other teams. Like, we all saw Texas against Kansas. Was down 0-2 on the road. They managed to turn the tables and win it in 5. This time for Baylor, they get the luxury of playing at home. But this time they're playing the number 1 team in the nation. They did beat them last year, so I wouldn't really count out Baylor fully. But you look at the talent that Texas has. Kayla Caffey, Logan Eggleston, Asia O'Neal, Maddie Skinner, Zoe Fleck. The list just goes on and on. And I'm blanking on that tough server that Texas had in the Kansas match, but overall, Texas is just going to be so much more tough to beat for Baylor. Even in Waco, I really think that Baylor is going to have their work cut out for them taking on the Longhorns. And then as for the definitely noteworthy matchups, we'll start this on Wednesday. We have number 6 Ohio State taking on number 10 Minnesota at Minnesota. I hate to jump the gun, but this is kind of my match of the week right there. This is kind of my match of the week. I know it's super early, but it's kind of the best matchup we have this week. I really think that this is going to really test the Buckeyes. They do have some good wins, especially in conference, but I want to see them actually win on the road. Obviously, they can hang with some of the best in the conference, but I want to see them winning in a very tough environment that is Minnesota. I really think this should be nationally televised, by the way. Also on Wednesday, we have number 18 Baylor at number 22 Rice. So you're probably thinking, well, why is the number 1 matchup against Baylor not as big as the number 22 matchup against Rice? So for Baylor, I think their match against Rice, they're favorited, obviously. But here's the thing for Rice. This is kind of their last time they'll be facing some stiff competition until they face Western Kentucky at the end of the season and once they get into the Conference USA tournament. For Rice, if they beat Baylor, this would be a huge win. Rice definitely has the talent to take on Baylor as they return a majority of their starters from last year, majority of their players from last year. But this Baylor team, I think, is still for real. Obviously, Baylor has lost quite a bit of talent. Obviously, the Yussiana Presley era is over, but they're starting to rebuild. Then, obviously, they have to get Riley Simpson involved. If they get Riley Simpson involved, this team is going to be on a tear. Obviously, they have Cara McGee still in the middle, as well as the one girl that transferred from Texas, the one girl that transferred from Texas A&M. I'm blanking on the name, but you get what I mean. Baylor still has some talent, but they don't have the talent they had in the past. But overall, I think Baylor, this is their big matchup. This is kind of the matchup which will prove if they are for real or if they are not. This will also be the matchup of the last bit of true, I wouldn't say true competition that they'll face, because you never know what could happen, because believe it or not, Rice actually had to reverse, it took reverse sweeping UTEP in order for Rice to win, but we'll see what happens. On Friday, we have number 14 Penn State taking on number 3 Nebraska. All right, this is a big-time matchup right here. Penn State has not really fared well against the Huskers. Nebraska has had their number for quite a bit. I don't remember the last time, Penn State beat Nebraska. I also remember that one year where Penn State had 30 wins, and I think they might have been the number 1 or number 2 seed. Sorry. And then, I'm sorry. But then they wound up losing in the semifinals just because Nebraska just had their number. I don't know how, I don't know why, but Penn State has a lot to prove this season. Well, not this season, but a lot to prove in this matchup. Last week they almost proved themselves, but they fell to Ohio State. They also lost to Wisconsin, who was missing Anna Smrek. And they also lost to Michigan, which wasn't even ranked at the time. So I think for Penn State, they're still kind of in that rebuild mode, but I think they're doing better. Kashana Williams has definitely fitted well for Penn State. I really think that Penn State does have what it takes to hang in the Big Ten. It's just that against Nebraska, I really don't know their last win over the Huskers. I'm trying to look it up as we speak, but for beating Nebraska, it's going to be tough, especially since you're playing at Nebraska. Nebraska is just they're really good when they play at Lincoln. That is basically going to be their house of horrors, playing in that spirited of a gym. I'm not going to say the word hostile. I'm just going to say that it is a rowdy, loud, spirited crowd. And I really think that Penn State, they're going to have their work cut out for them. That's for sure. That's kind of how I'm going to put it nicely. They're going to have their work cut out for them. They're going to have to serve and pass quite well. And they're going to have to really watch out for all of Nebraska's big-time hitters. Because it seems like every time we think we have Nebraska's number down, Nebraska comes out with another big-time hitter. And Penn State's last win over Nebraska was October 3rd, and that was all the way back in 2018. So Penn State has a little bit to play for. If they want to really prove themselves, this would be the match to come up big in. But Nebraska, I just don't think they have the horses to hang with the Huskers. We'll see, though. And then the last matchup to watch for, in terms of definitely noteworthy, is number 16 Marquette at number 21 Creighton. This is kind of for the Big East regular season crown. Marquette has proven themselves quite a bit this season. They're number 16. They're off to one of their better starts. They're probably off to their best start since, I want to say, in the 90s. I'm not entirely certain on the number, but they're off to their best start since back in the 90s. But now they face big sister Creighton. Creighton did see the return of Jayla Zimmerman, and that is huge right there for their middle blocker position. With Jayla Zimmerman, I really think that Creighton is going to be even more difficult to beat. They were already difficult to beat with Nora Sis, but now with Jayla Zimmerman back, they're going to be even more tougher to beat. And I don't know if she's at 100% fully, but I really think Jayla Zimmerman is going to be key for the Blue Jays. They did have to reverse sweep past UConn, but UConn, as we all know, they're vastly underrated. They even beat Creighton last year. I think it was 2 weeks ago when Jayla Zimmerman made her return to the court when she served on the match point. I don't know who it was against, but Jayla Zimmerman served up a service ace, and that obviously was a wholesome moment for Zimmerman and for Creighton fans, as well as the whole Zimmerman family. So for me, I really think that this is going to be a real barn burner. This is going to be the Big East barn burner. That's what I probably should have titled this show, the Big East barn burner. And I just think it's going to be a fun matchup just because Marquette, they have been so good. They've gotten a few transfers. I think I'm blanking on the name of No, it wasn't Lindsey Hamilton. I'm blanking on the Marquette transfer from Notre Dame, but she's done wonders for Marquette, and I think Marquette is just really good. I think they're underrated just because they don't play in a big-time conference. Aubrey Hamilton. So it was Aubrey Hamilton. I'm thinking of someone else that transferred to USC, but Aubrey Hamilton has done wonders for Marquette after transferring from Notre Dame. So I really think this is going to be a very good matchup for Marquette. This is kind of the matchup where they have to come up big, as both these teams are undefeated, and this is where one of these teams something has to give here. One of these teams has to win and the other has to lose. Fortunately for both of these teams, they do get to face one another, as this meeting is actually going to be at Creighton. The second meeting is going to be at Marquette in Milwaukee. And then you also have to remember that the Big East has a conference tournament. They have the Big East Championship, which is going to be big time right there. And we could see these two teams facing off one another in round 3. Who knows, though? It all depends, just because I think the Big East is underrated. You've got some good teams like UConn, St. John's. They're underrated. Those two are probably, and maybe Providence if they can get it together. But I think St. John's and UConn are kind of the biggest threats to Creighton and Marquette. So that's something to watch for when it comes to the Big East. But that is going to do it for our matchups to watch for this week in Week 8 of the NCAA Women's Volleyball season. And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this week's episode of Set Point. It's time, ladies and gentlemen, to drop the beat, because I'm about to dip like a banana in chocolate. You feel me? Thank you everyone for tuning in to Set Point. I really do appreciate you all tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at anytime, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. This weekend, I'll be at Long Beach State to covered the Long Beach State UC Irvine women's volleyball match. We're also going to be honoring someone there as the former, I think it was the former athletic director or former SID. Either way, I'll be there on the scene. I didn't get to talk about my night at Long Beach State where I covered the match against UC Santa Barbara and the match against USUN, but it's all good. You all basically saw my tweet, and I'll probably just post some of the quotes from the press conference. Like, definitely do check out the press conference, because I asked some pretty decent questions when it came to the Long Beach State press conference. Shout out to the chat room, Mike, Pat, Larry B, and David Crooks. I appreciate you all tuning in, because without you, set point wouldn't amount to much. Next week, set point might be going on earlier, just because I have some other things to attend to, but we'll see. Time will tell. I'm probably shooting for 3 p.m. set point next week, but we'll have to see. For everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. I'll see you all on Friday for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Until then, have yourself a great rest of the week. Enjoy the volleyball action, and be on the lookout for my tweets. Peace!